Hey Rock Point, it's good to see you all. It's Erik here. Some of you have no idea who I am, but I've been part of this church for, I think I just had my 16th anniversary being on staff. Now these days things are a little bit different for me. I'm on part-time on a 0.3 contract and still very much passionate about seeing Rock Point become the type of church that would pursue God's heart and help other people to find and follow Jesus. And today I want to tell you a little bit about what we've been up to. I want to tell you about where we've been kind of putting our energy and our time. And then I want to kind of give you a call to action to join in on the work that Christ might be leading us to in our communities, in our neighborhoods, with our friends and with our families. So really the story starts around 5 or so years ago where I stood on the stage at our church and was prayed over by our elders and by our staff and commissioned to be sent out to go as a missionary living here in Calgary, to see what could happen if we took a group of people and tried to build a community that would focus on chasing after, loving and caring for people that were very far from Jesus. The kind of people that wouldn't normally walk into church on a Sunday morning. We wanted to go for those that were the nuns and the duns, those that had no religious affiliation whatsoever. And so for the last number of years, we've been doing that. We've been operating in Tuscany and in Rocky Ridge, and we've been working with a group of Christ followers. I'd say a ragtag group of disciples, myself included, trying to figure out what it looks like to actually take the gospel to hard and difficult places, to our neighbors and our friends and our family that desperately need what we have. Let me tell you, Rock Point, it's been an amazing journey. It's been filled with incredible joy, difficulties and hardship, heartbreaking moments. We've seen people come to know Jesus. We've seen baptisms happen in backyards and seen people been set free. We've also seen people walk away. And it's been hard and challenging, and COVID threw a whole nother wrench into the whole thing like it did for all of us. And yet, I believe that we're onto something. I believe that God's invitation for you and for me is to continue to live the gospel in the places that we spend most of our time, at work, in our neighborhoods, with our families and with our friends that desperately need Jesus. And so today, I want to talk to you a little bit about that. I've got just a few minutes to kind of share a few of my thoughts and the things that I've been thinking about, and then invite you to join me on a bit of a journey. And so these days, I want to kind of highlight where I think the church is at, not Rock Point, but just generally in Canada, the religious climate of our country. I don't know for you if you've noticed it, but most of my friends, most of my neighbors and people that I spend time with that are not followers of Jesus are not rushing to the church these days. They're not breaking down the door to come and see what we have to offer. These people are becoming skeptical. They're becoming hesitant and reluctant to join on a spiritual journey. You know, Stats Canada just released the latest findings on religious culture in Canada. And what we've kind of discovered through this is that over the last 20 years, we've seen a radical decline in Christianity in our country. We've seen almost a 30% drop in the past 10 years in religious affiliation in Protestant denominations. This is trending from 20 years ago. We're seeing less and less people becoming interested for what we're trying to do here at our church. This should bother us. This should really cause us to stop and to question. And you don't need stats to really understand this. If you just think about the people that you spend your life with, there's now a skepticism to Christianity. There's a reluctance to understand what we are trying to encourage people to be a part of. And so what are we going to do about it? How are we going to kind of change the trending pattern? What are we going to do as followers of Jesus who are called to make disciples in our everyday lives? Well, that's the question that we need to answer. And my hypothesis, my thinking is that we actually have a way forward. A way forward is going to involve all of us embracing Great Commission living. Now, you remember back in the day when we used to have missionaries who would come to our churches and they would tell us these compelling stories. They'd get up on stage and tell stories about how people in far off places around the world are coming to know Jesus. They're talking about heroic, beautiful stories of courageous innovation in countries and places where the name of Jesus was not yet known. I remember hearing these stories. I remember listening to these passionate people sharing and realizing that I wanted to be a part of something like that. And I used to think that you had to do it overseas. And yes, that's still important, and God's moving all around the globe. But today, I believe that same call can be pertinent for you and for me here in Calgary. I believe that each and every one of us have a responsibility to embrace missionary type living right here, every single day. It's not just for missionaries around the world. It's not just for pastors or people that are full-time paid by the church. It's for you and for me. to go into our communities, into our world, and ask the very question of what would it take to reach the people that are right around me? How is that going to happen? And maybe it's not going to involve you inviting them to church anymore. Maybe it's going to involve you opening up your life and your home and your energy to be a blessing and to encourage those that are far from Jesus. That's what we've been trying to do, and we need your help. I really think that the call for us is from Christ himself to step into Great Commission type living. You know, Matthew 28, Jesus says that I've been given all authority in heaven and earth. So therefore go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Teach these new disciples to obey all the commands that I've given you, and be sure of this, that I am with you even to the end of the age. This Great Commission is not just for a select few people. If you are a follower of Jesus, if it's messy and you don't know all the answers and you're struggling through what that even looks like, this Great Commission is for you and for me as well. And so how do we do that? What does that look like to make disciples? That's what we've been trying to answer. That's the question we've been wrestling with everyday people over the last 5 years. And what if I was to tell you that there's hope for the people that you love? What if I was to tell you there's hope for your kids who are questioning and wandering from the faith? What if I was to tell you that there's hope for those that are, next door to you who are very hesitant to have any type of spiritual conversation whatsoever with you? My invitation is this. I would love to see Rock Point embrace missionary type living, Great Commission type living in the everyday things of life. And I think that if we want to change the trending pattern, that it's going to take all of us together. And so today I want to give you kind of 3 invitations. First of all, if you're here and you're saying, yes, I think you're right. I think that we need to make some steps forward to live more purposefully with more impact in our neighborhoods, then I'm going to ask you to join me in prayer. I'm going to ask that you would actually take some time, that you'd find a way to build it into a regular rhythm of your life, to be praying for the people that are right around you. Maybe that's when you check your mail every day, that as you walk, that you would pray for the houses that you pass. Maybe it's when you take your recycling bin out, that you would take time to pray for those houses that you see and the people that you encounter. Now, maybe that you would take some time every single day. Maybe when you're brushing your teeth, that you commit that time to praying for the people that are right around you. That's something that all of us can do and all of us should do. The second one is that I want to invite you to start to think a little bit differently about the way that you live. I want to start, to think like we were to tap you on the shoulder and send you to Cochrane or Rocky Ridge or Aspen or Bowness as a missionary, as somebody that would step into those places to bless, to encourage, and to help move people towards Jesus. And the third thing is this. If you're already trying those things and you've got a burden on your heart, you want more. You want to really step into this world of like, how does this actually look and how could I be involved? Then I would love for you to get in touch with me. And I would love to invite those that are willing and ready to step into a more intentional way of living, in missionary patterns and missionary ways in your neighborhoods, to join me on a discovery journey where we would walk together for a 6-week period of time where I can invite you, train you, share some of the lessons and the encouragements that we've been learning, and send you back to the places that you live. I'm hoping that through those 3 things that we will see people come to know Jesus, that we will see our church move in a direction that would look more like Christ, and that we would see people become set free. So would you pray? Would you live like a missionary? And if you're ready, and if you're willing, and this isn't for the faint of heart, this is for those that really feel God's tap on their shoulder today, get in touch with me. Send me an email. It'll be on the screen here. And I would love to chat with you about what that could look like. Thank you, Rock Point. Love you. I'm excited to see where God leads us.